Hi, welcome back to Wesbury 101. I'm Brian Wesbury, Chief Economist at First Trust Portfolios. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom. Well, today is Thursday, September 8th, 2011. Both Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Fed, and President Obama are giving speeches about the creation of jobs, about how they're going to help the economy create jobs. I think in the end, the government needs to step out of the way. That's the way we create jobs. And in fact, there's a perfect metaphor for this, if you will. And remember, September 11th, obviously, we're all remembering that now. It's the 10-year anniversary in 3 days of that horrific day. But the one plane that I wanted to talk about was Flight 93, the one that ended up in the ground in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And if you recall, that plane was headed for the White House or the Capitol, and literally one of those two places was saved by average, everyday Americans. Todd Beamer and his fellow passengers literally figured out what was going on. They were in connection with the ground on their cell phones. They were able to piece it all together, and they knew what they needed to do, and they did it. They sacrificed their lives to save other people and to save one of the great buildings of the United States. And that brings me back to the economy, because in the end, it is average people that create jobs. It is entrepreneurs. There's a great parable that we can use. I used it in our most recent Monday Morning Outlook, and let me tell you that now. Imagine we all lived on an island. There were 10 of us, 10 people living on an island. We each catch 2 fish a day. We eat them and go to bed. In other words, it's subsistence living. There's no savings. There's no way to absorb a new child or an immigrant because we're all just barely surviving as it is. But let's say 2 of us figure out how to make a boat and a net. We can now go 200 yards offshore, and together the 2 of us catch 20 fish in a day, replicating the GDP that all 10 of us created before on a daily basis. Now, the 8 people that aren't in the boat and using the net have a choice at this point. All right, they can grow corn and pick coconuts, clean the boat, or fix the net, or clean the fish, and they can provide some good or service to the other 2, and everybody's living standards go up. When you sit down to eat dinner, you now have cornbread and coconut and fish, and we can absorb children because we have extra and we have plenty and we have abundance. Or those 8 that no longer have to fish could say, hey, it's not fair. Each of those fishermen has 10 fish a day. We still only can catch 2. We're going to tax them 80% if they use a net, and take those 16 fish every time they come into shore and redistribute them to everyone. And by the way, at that point, everybody still only has 2 fish. So if those fishermen still go out every day, even though they face an 80% tax, there is absolutely no increase in living standards. In other words, the technology of the boat and the net, if you take it away by taxing it and redistributing it, you erase its impact. Now, we don't have an 80% tax rate in the U.S., but whenever we redistribute and tax or borrow the productive effort of entrepreneurs, we literally dismantle some of the benefits that we could be getting from them. That's why we have 9.1% unemployment rate. That's why the economy's been growing, but it's been at a disappointing growth rate. And so when we look at the economy today, we believe that the reason unemployment is high, the reason the economy is disappointing so many, is because government has grown so much, and the Federal Reserve and the Congress and the President have tried so hard to create jobs that, in fact, it's backfired. It's what we call unintended consequences. Now, that brings me to my final point, because there are some people who believe that with the Fed creating inflation and Congress and the President having spent and taxed so much that, in fact, the economy is headed for a cliff, that we're in a double dip, that a recession is on its way. And this is where I disagree. Yes, growth has been disappointing, but no, a double dip recession is not on its way. Remember, we follow these high frequency indicators. I want you to take a look at them really quickly. Initial unemployment claims, yes, they're at 414,000, which is 2,000 above last week, but that's still significantly below their peak of about 480,000 in the spring. If you look at weekly chain store sales, they're still growing on a year-over-year basis. There is no evidence of a major slowdown. Box office receipts, rail car traffic, steel production all show continued growth. And then we've found a new weekly indicator that we are getting from a group that follows hotel occupancy, not only prices, but rooms occupied and occupancy rates. And every one of those indicators shows that the economy has not slipped into a panic-induced double-dip recession. And so what we're finding ourselves in right now is a place where the economy is underperforming because government has become so big and taken away the benefits of technology. However, it is not slipping into a nasty recession. And this is why the stock market has overreacted. And it's also why, by the way, government is overreacting. Everyone in government wants to be responsible, be seen as responsible for a recovery in the economy. And the way to get a recovery is for them to get out of the way. They should remember Todd Beamer and Flight 93. That's what average Americans can do with just a little bit of information. We need to free up the economy, allow entrepreneurs to get that information and make hay with it. In the end, that's the way we get the economy moving again. But even though it's moving slowly today, it is still growing, corporations are still making profits, and we believe the stock market is still undervalued. So don't give up hope, just in a sense, hope that the government figures out how to get out of the way. Thanks so much for visiting Wesbury 101. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom, and let's roll.